You know, I think we can all fancy ourselves as being our own detectives. We as human beings value justice over what we think to be wrong. When it comes to proving something as so, there's a sense of satisfaction prompted. So when it turns out that something was stated as incorrect, it becomes a tad bit embarrassing to be in the essence of failure. I mean, we've all been in that circumstance. You know, where you've blurted out the wrong answer in class? It feels like the eyes of the classroom are all on you, and you kind of just want to get out of there at that moment. In terms of the topic of today's video, however, grade school is literal child's play compared to the great blunder known as the We Did It Reddit incident. Now, there's a lot to unpack here. For one should take a second and subscribe to me, Zeebsterd. But for another, it is crucial to understand something about Reddit. A lot of people on the internet like to pretend they're smarter than they actually are. Don't get me wrong, this isn't anything new on the internet. The internet is a sewage bin full of inaccuracies and cases of falsified information. But when it comes to issues as big as the one we're about to cover, it becomes way more jarring and incredibly insensitive. April 15th, 2013, the annual Boston Marathon is taking place. A long-running tradition in Massachusetts, the Boston Marathon is one of the most recognized marathons in the country, attracting an average of at least 500,000 spectators per year, making it New England's most viewed sporting event, with at least 30,000 participants running per year. 2013's Boston Marathon was struck by tragedy. 2 homemade pressure cooker bombs were detonated near the finish line of the race, leading to 3 being killed and the injuries of 264 people. The media began reporting about the attack immediately after, becoming a national story. The FBI later stepped in, releasing 2 images of the suspects. What followed was then a manhunt. While the Bureau was conducting its investigation, another party was trying to do its best in finding the potential suspects as well. Known for sharing current news, the Reddit community was in shock over the Boston Marathon incident. People started posting about the incident on r/World News, which was reserved for news overseas. Mods started deleting posts about Boston, which angered Redditors. Now a bunch of riled up Redditors. That's something I would not want to mess with. So here's the interesting thing. A lot of key info and posts about the whole incident has been deleted, including all of the submissions and comments on the subreddit r/FindBostonBombers. Luckily, screen caps of the subreddit on the Wayback Time Machine still exist. Interestingly enough, one of the top posts on the subreddit was one by a user asking media outlets to please stop making the images of potential suspects who were at the marathon go viral. It should be stated that much of the subreddit was afraid of being labeled as premature in its search for justice. According to a Reddit post by Swiley1983, who lurked the subreddit during the week of the Boston attack, he was struck by how critical thought, including anti-wild speculation and accusation, was generally upvoted on the subreddit. An article by This American Life stated this about the controversy: "There's been some criticism of Reddit for going through Boston Marathon photos, looking for suspects. The Atlantic called it vigilantism, and made it seem like these were crazy nerds on a delusional CSI witch hunt. And you definitely can find quotes that make it seem that way. But if you read the full discussions, you'll see how careful people are trying to be. Very aware of the dangers of accusing an innocent person of being a bomber. It's a big part of the discussion. When somebody posts the Facebook page of one potential suspect, people declared that this has gone too far. The post is then deleted, and then the poster's banned. Reddit wanted to be careful. On April 18th, 3 days following the marathon, the FBI released grainy photographs of the 2 suspects. Meanwhile, a family was trying to find its son. Sunil Tripathi had gone missing on March 16th, 2013, a month prior to the Boston Marathon incident. The FBI had already been helping the Tripathi family in the search for Sunil. The Tripathi family made a Facebook page titled, "Help Us Find Sunil Tripathi," which included messages from friends and family of their loved one. Once the images of the 2 Boston suspects were released, a user on Reddit posted a side-by-side image of Sunil's features next to the rainy suspects. The community then went wild. I do not blame the entirety of the subreddit. I'm sure there were people who were trying to douse the fire of speculation, but the fact of the matter is that Redditors were pissed. Although they didn't even have all the information quite yet. They immediately went to the Facebook page of the Tripathi family and proceeded to leave angry messages. A reporter from ABC had called up the Tripathi family the same day to ask if Sunil was spotted in the Boston area the day of the marathon. This led to the Tripathi family to call the FBI and ask them if Sunil was a suspect in the Boston Marathon case, to which the FBI assured them that he was not. The The Tripathi family had made the Facebook page in the hopes that if Sunil was still out there, he would find it and realize how many people truly loved and cared about him. Following the mass harassment on the Facebook page, the Tripathi family decided to close the page so that no more messages could come in. Several journalists saw this and proceeded to tweet that the family was guarding Sunil's involvement in the attack, which led to people to believe that the family had realized that it was indeed their son in the photos. Like a fire, the Reddit post engulfed social media, with people sharing the accusations beyond Reddit, and people tweeting out misinformation all over the place. Andrew Kukzinski, a journalist at BuzzFeed who had over 81,000 followers, tweeted out this: "Wow, Reddit was right about the missing Brown student per the police scanner. Suspect identified as Sunil Tripathi." Yep, it was not. By the early hours of April 19th, the internet was convinced that the Reddit community had done it. The phrase, "We did it Reddit," became widespread on the website. Yeah, it got pretty bad. Here's the thing, the phrase "we did it Reddit" did not come from the Boston Marathon. For at least a couple years prior, it was used as a cry for celebration. In 2011, the controversial Stop Online Privacy Act was introduced, in which the bill wanted to expand the ability of US law enforcement to combat online copyright infringement. The internet fiercely rejected this proposition, and once the bill was ultimately defeated, people on Reddit took to their keyboards to celebrate, crediting themselves for the bill's failure. This is just one of many instances in the early 2010s when "We Did It Reddit" was used. Just look at the titles of these Reddit pages. Breaking: Canadian Prime Minister will overturn the bandwidth ruling. We did it Reddit? We did it Reddit! $100,000 in donations for direct relief. We just hit Sagan levels of faith and destruction. We did it Reddit. However, this would be the last time the "we did it" phrase was used without any sense of irony. Reddit has been viewed as a separation of the media. It is a described haven from the likes of CNN or Fox News that rejects the establishment. It is crowdsourced with multiple pages representing different tribes of all interests. So when this first happened, the overall consensus of Reddit by the general public was sheer awe that this group of internet strangers managed to track down the perpetrator, with NBC News broadcaster Luke Russert tweeting this: "It's still early with unconfirmed reports, but if Reddit was right with the Sunil Tripathi theory, it's changed the game forever." On April 19th, 5:16 a.m., Pete Williams announced on NBC that Sunil Tripathi was not a suspect. But by this time, hundreds of hateful messages had already been sent to the Tripathi family. As the week followed, the two suspects who were in charge of the Boston incident were fully revealed, with one of them dying in a police altercation and the other being arrested. The Tripathi family was broken, but they didn't want to stop. Although they were hurt about what had happened, they decided to use the media who had been contacting them to get the word out about Sunil. Much of the news media later apologized to the family. Sangeta Tripathi stated that it felt like a casual apology given to someone into a fragile state by people who presumed Sunil to be a terrorist. Judy Tripathi added that the irony was that Sunil was so gentle, and that he was a victim of all the damn scandal, and he was a victim of his own depression. It was just all so ugly. On April 23rd, 2013, a body was found in the Providence River, later confirmed to be Sunil's. Reddit's founders issued an apology on the website, stating that the incident showed the best and worst of Reddit's potential, with the hope that Boston would be where Reddit learned to be sensitive to its own power, with the co-founder discussing it a couple months later on CBS.
You got into a little bit of controversy because of, at the Boston Marathon thing, you misidentified someone. How'd you come out of that? What did you feel incumbent you had to do?
Well, this is a challenge for all social media platforms. It's a problem that unfortunately is a fundamental human problem. We make errors, and people made errors when they were brilliant, well-trained journalists, and they're going to make errors when everyone has a sort of soapbox. And the challenge is, obviously trying to encourage people to be more thoughtful with the content they post. But at the end of the day, as a platform, you can only have so much control.
With Reddit now knowing they made a huge mistake, what was next? The phrase, "We did it Reddit," is an embarrassing reminder of the targeted harassment of an innocent family. It is a cautionary tale to not get so easily overtaken by mob mentality. The incident hurt the way people viewed crowdsourced investigations, with it being cited as causing nothing but harm. I must disagree with this assessment, however, as I do believe the incident did provide for a lesson. Do not rely on information by looking at it at just a first glance. I believe that internet investigations are impossible to stop. There's no way a whole series of people are going to prevent themselves themselves from seeking what they deemed to be justice, despite not having all the information to do so. The incident was a jump-the-gun moment that should be continued to be ridiculed and criticized to this day. "We did it" Reddit is thankfully used in a mocking connotation nowadays, but also serves as a reminder of the website's biggest failure. The truth is, what Reddit did was an utter embarrassment for not just the website, but the internet as a whole. I've been Zeepstered, and I'll see you later.